Thank you so much for joining us, Ana. ¿Cómo estás?
Muy bien, gracias. Thank you so much for having me.
I love everything that you have been doing on TikTok, everything that you represent. I love your sassy responses to comments. When I grow up, I want to be like you.
I know. Recently, people have been calling me their big sister that is FaceTiming them over TikTok.
Yes. Ay, porque se siente así. Te sientes como una hermana. Nos pones nuestras buenas regañadas. You remind us certain things. You teach us so much. For everybody that's listening, you guys can go to the description box. I'm going to have her website, her TikTok, and all the information that you need to know about Ana down in the description box. If you guys are watching us somewhere in the screen, you guys will see her handles and how to connect with her. And that's going to be on Spotify and YouTube. So you guys check that out. Pero Ana, oh my God, I'm so excited to speak to you and get to know you personally. Creo que vamos a tener un good episode today.
Absolutely. I'm happy to be here.
So first, Ana, if you can tell us de dónde vienes, mujer. I know que emigraste aquí de México. ¿De qué parte de México eres?
De la Ciudad de México.
Oh, de la ciudad.
Sí. Uh-huh. Y toda mi familia todavía está ahí en México y tengo 3 personas que viven en Austria. Así que mi mamá es austriaca, mi papá es mexicano. Yo crecí en los 2 países y ahorita estoy en los Estados Unidos desde 10 años.
Okay, so I read somewhere, because I did a little bit digging about you. Do you speak German, English, and Spanish?
I speak more languages, but yes, my native languages are Spanish and German. I went to school in Mexico and in Austria. And then I learned English. And I mean, now I live in the States since 10 years. So those are my 3 main languages, yes.
Wow. Round of applause. Eres una latina bien chingona, Ana. I just have to say it. Eres una latina bien chingona. Wow, that's amazing. What made you come over to the United States?
Oh, God.
I know.
I wanted to take a break from my career, and I was doing my MBA, and I came here, and then I had a baby.
Oh, I did read that. And I was like, the other day you were at Target with your babies, and I'm like, she has baby? Because, girl, I thought you were like 25 maybe. Te miras bien joven.
No, my daughter is almost 9. That's the baby that made me stay here.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
And then I have a son, too. So I have 2 kids at this point. And yeah, so I, got pregnant. We decided at that time that it was best to stay here. Made the big mistake to think that it's my role now that I'm pregnant to support the career of the father of my children.
Mm-hmm.
Big mistake, don't be me. But that's a story for another time. But that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about financial education for women and entrepreneurship, because I have made that mistake. I am higher educated than him. I had a higher paying job. I had a full-blown life. But then when I got pregnant, I was in a flight or fright mode. I was very young. I was not planning to stay in the States. I was really scared. A lot of things happened at the same time, and I was like, fuck. And I called my dad, in Mexico, and I called him, and he was just like, all right, we're going to deal with that. We're going to figure this out. And I was like, And I decided to stay here. I was really scared. And it's so funny because everyone always perceives me as this very strong person already my whole life, like my whole childhood too. And I think that's why I had a little bit too little guidance during this time. And so I just, I did what I thought was the right move.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I don't have any regrets. People always ask me. I don't have regrets. I'm very happy with my life. I'm happy with all of my babies, my 2 human babies and my company babies. But the way that I came to the United States was not planned and do not recommend.
I was going to say, because, you know, especialmente, and I know you've talked about this on your TikTok, you know, mucha gente se está yendo a la Ciudad de México, se está yendo a otros little spots of Mexico, and you know, and now it's almost wanting to be gentrified over there, right? And so I've heard you, and I'm like, I haven't heard, because I have to be honest, no siempre estoy en el TikTok. Entonces, I don't know if I go back and look at all your videos, girl, I'll probably be there all night because you're very active. And so I'm like, I wonder what made her come and stay over here, because it's not the best over here. Like, I want to go over there. Ay, yo me quiero ir para allá.
No, yo también.
Yeah, mis papás son de León, Guanajuato.
Okay.
Y tengo familia en León, Guanajuato. Y los fui a conocer por primera vez. Nunca los había conocido. Nunca viajamos de niña. Pues no. My parents came here with nothing. And girl, they've been on survive mode ever since. And so when I went over there, my cousins are like, oh, we're going to go and we want to get the visa and we want to go and visit. And I was like, yeah, visit, but do not stay. Like, not recommended at all. And I was born in LA and I was raised in San Diego. Do not recommend it at all. Like, stay here. I'm like, ¿qué necesitan? Tienen su negocito en el centro de León, Guanajuato. Like, tienen todo lo que necesitan. And I'm like, over there, yes, it's brands and everything, pero así como cuestan las cosas, así te cuesta tenerlas. And I'm like, and you're on a regimen over here. Like, acá I see you guys, and you guys are like platicando a las 2 de la mañana y agarrando tacos from the corner, you know? We can't do that.
Yeah, I agree. If I could, I would live there. Like, I would choose to raise my children, you know, close to my family. I would be in El DF, in Coyoacán. That's like my hood. That's my favorite neighborhood. And like every time I'm there, I'm like, oh, I wished I could just stay there. It's really hard to leave and come back. Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay. So viniste, llegaste, you got stuck here, if that's okay for me to say.
No, that's okay. That's what I always say. Like, it's a good place to be stuck. It's a very big privilege to be stuck here. But it also kind of sucks to be, you know, stuck in a foreign country without any family around.
Yes.
That part is really, really hard. And it hasn't, it's not getting any easier. That's, I think, the thing that sometimes really hits me, you know, that, I don't know. There's so many things in life that after a while it gets easier, you get used to it, or, you know, but if you're the immigrant in a family and you don't have any kind, you know, no one around, that part never goes away. Like, I'm homesick 24/7. I dream and think and love in different languages, and my whole life is here. And just like that part, you know, but I'm stuck on the west side of LA, and I spent my time on the beach in Malibu. Like, you know, like, calm down. I'm like, no mames. Who are you to complain? Like, take a fucking seat, Anna. But at the same time, you know, my kids and I, we have lived in 3-4 different countries already. Yeah. Just with my children. Me, myself, I've lived in like even more countries. And now being stuck is like great. I have to wait for my kids, you know, to be old enough to be able to move again. And I think that's why it feels stuck. Would I move if I could? Probably not. But I want the option. Like, I want to have the option to grab my kids and just live wherever the fuck I want. And I would probably, you know, sooner rather than later, be back in Mexico and be with my dad and my brother and everyone there. Yeah.
Oh, Ayana. And I saw that, you know, cuando estabas embarazada with your first baby, you started creating Fine Sisterhood. Is that true? Is that true what I read?
Yes. Wow. Yes, that is true. I started working on it. It was, I had no idea it was going to become a company. I had no idea how fast I was going to scale that company. So that all took me by surprise. I tried to figure out a way that women could have like very tough conversations in a safe way. Part of that was me looking on Facebook. Back then, Facebook didn't have the option to post anonymously in groups.
Yes.
And so I felt like there's so many heavy topics people want to discuss. And where can you do that? The only other place would have been Reddit. Reddit is, filled with white supremacists, especially back then, like 10 years ago, they had a massive problem with that. And child pornography. And I was like, that's not a platform where I, as a new mom, want to go to discuss heavy topics. Like, that does not feel safe. I do not want to go on Facebook and share how I really feel because I'm scared. I don't want to be judged. I want to be able to have conversations, and I don't know where I can go. And so I literally just started to brainstorm. I remember I bought at the dollar store. I bought a notepad that looked like an iPhone, and I started drawing with a pencil how an app would look like, that where I could post the things, the thoughts that I had, the fears that I had, the resources I'm looking for in an anonymous way. So that's how it got started.
Wow.
Yeah, it was the need for that. And and then I got very lucky. I mean, I raised capital pretty much right away. After, an initial few months of thinking about the idea, researching, and then I got very, very lucky. I had a few people that were willing to take a bet on me, that invested in my company. And then I scaled that company into 38 countries across the world. And we became the biggest social network for women. But it started out of desperation. And I never thought that was going to be a company, especially not, at such a scale. But yeah, it was phenomenal. We, most of the topics were around sex. So that was an interesting, dynamic, which is one of the things you learn as a business owner. You might plan A, but then your community comes and wants B. Yes. And so you have to pivot around and figure it out. For me, it was more, being able to talk about mental health topics, social justice. I was very passionate and still am very passionate about educating Black and brown people in the United States when it comes to our social justice system. I've always been an activist, so I wanted to have these kind of conversations. And women came and were like, "Las chismosas have arrived. We're going to discuss sex right now." And I was like, oh, wow, okay, did not see that one coming. So that was really interesting, because, women came, and everything on the spectrum, from sexual assault survivors discussing their trauma to how do I tell my husband about the fetish that I've been thinking of, and where do I buy the best toys for it? We had the whole spectrum from good to bad. And but it taught me so much that, that was,
and what ended up happening with it?
A bunch of things that I cannot yet disclose, but you will soon know.
Okay.
You will soon know very soon. You will probably be one of the first to know, since you follow me on TikTok.
Yes.
I'm going to soon share all of that with you. But
so you guys go listen, go follow her on TikTok. Porque Ana does give us the full on details. So that's one thing that I love. When she
very
says
unfiltered.
Come back for more, she's going to give you more. She doesn't leave you hanging. Okay. Well, that sounds, oh my God. Yes. Talking about, coming here and not having that community and trying to build that community. Right. I just was able to sit down with I didn't know I had no idea about this, Ana. And I grew up here in the States. No sé si en México se supo también o no. Pero the guy that designed the Apple logo, or was part of designing the Apple logo, he's a Mexican American. Viene también de El Chente, creo que me dijo. Y estábamos platicando, and he's always been big on community and on giving that support to our people and the resources for kids to know que pueden hacer lo que ellos quieran. They can dream anything. And I'm like, God, growing up, I wish I would have known this. Because
yeah,
I thought only white, when I was growing up, and I'm being completely honest, I thought only white kids went to college. I thought only white people could make companies. So seeing, you know, him, Mr. Perez, Carlos Perez, I'm like, wow, like, you did this? And you were born in Mexico. Like, wow, ya ni los que estamos aquí hemos aprovechado las oportunidades que tenemos. Like, and I think you're the next person that I've met that I'm just like, just admirable of the things that you've been able to accomplish. Y como dices, como han salido de cosas que a lo mejor tú ni te imaginabas. You started with one purpose and it just developed into something else.
Yeah.
So, props to you.
You know, thank you. I do want to say, because like I work mostly with Latinos, and we work with like systemically marginalized people in the United States, my company now. But I do want to say that an important part is not just the role models that you mentioned, that it's important, you know. I once heard the saying, you cannot be what you cannot see. And I agree, like you have to see it, you know, whether that's a role model like a brown or a black person, or a woman or a mom or a single mom out there kick ass, as for you as to see that role model, but also just hearing all of these stories and being able to envision what you could do. And I think that a lot of us immigrants, when we immigrate to this country, or, you know, first generation immigrants, they are made to believe that they're not allowed to dream as big. And so I just want to take away the blame from us as a community and place it onto a system, onto a culture that is designed to gatekeep, that is intentionally designed to make us believe that we can't reach that we are not allowed to have those kind of dreams. And so if that's how people feel, just know you're not alone. We've all felt this way. I still sometimes feel this way. I'm still sometimes like, I can't do this. This country is breaking me. I just want to go back home and cry. And it's, you know, it's part of the journey. It's really part of the journey. And we've all felt this way.
Yes, yes. And I think, you know, now seeing, I have a 15-year-old. Excuse me. I have a 15.
You also have a 15-year-old already. Wow.
I'm going to be 37 in a few weeks. I'm going to be 37 in a few weeks. Pero yeah, so my 15-year-old you know, he's talking about, Mom, I want to be an anesthesiologist and I want to do this and I want to do that. And this is the dream car that I have. And I'm like, the other day I broke down and I was crying, and, you know, he's always like, ay, Mom, eres bien chillona. And I'm like, baby, it's because you don't understand. Like, I'm so happy that I was able to put that confidence in you, and that I know the system. My parents weren't able to do that with me. My parents are still, you know, super scared of money, and they're super scared of debt, and they're super scared of credit cards, and they don't own any. They don't even carry around a debit card. De tanto miedo que le tienen a las tarjetas, you know? And I was raised to be quiet, to be small, to not make myself feel noticed, right? Don't dream too big, como dices. Pero es que me pongo a pensar, they didn't have a community. They didn't have people to look up to. They didn't have, no tenían a nadie aquí. Y llegaron allá a Los Ángeles, a Santa Mónica. So it's like, y sin saber el lenguaje, sin saber nada, el sistema ni nada. I mean, it's pretty sad. Yeah. So one of the main reasons why I created this podcast is because I'm like, I want to have those conversations deeper than what we just see on social media. That, you know, Ana is a real person. She's amazing on social media, but she's also amazing off social media. Y que you've struggled. Not everything has been a straight line, right, Ana?
Yeah, and I think that that's like so important, because I had the exact same experience as your parents. I did not have a bank account in the United States. I did not have a credit score because I didn't know that's a thing. And unfortunately, you know, I was with someone who intentionally did not teach me a single thing about his country. So I was like, you know, and I feel like that's also one of the reasons I share so much about that on social media. If you marry an immigrant or even a first generation immigrant, you have an ethical responsibility to teach them about your country, especially if they gave up their country to be with you. I unfortunately did not have that kind of guidance. I never had anyone, him or his side of the family, ever teach me, about money, about credit score, about the healthcare system. When my daughter was born, I was undocumented without healthcare in a shitty hospital in Brooklyn. And my daughter and I almost died during her childbirth. And I was by myself. No one taught me anything. I didn't know that Planned Parenthood existed. I was a young girl that was scared, that was pregnant, that didn't know her way around. Not one person ever said, hey, you know what? We're going to take care of you. This is what you need to know when you live in this country. Here's how to navigate the healthcare system. No one did that with me, right? And I didn't have family here myself, so I didn't know how to do it. And I naively trusted that people will have my best interest in mind. I guess because I was raised this way, right? I was raised that way. My parents still take care of each other and they've been divorced for I don't even know, almost 30 years. But, they respect each other because they have 3 children together. And so I was just so naive. It's incredible. So I was like your parents. And when the time came where I had no other choice but to get out of our house, I did not have a bank account. I didn't have a credit card. I didn't have a debit card. I had a debit card that was a shared bank account. Yeah. And he basically blocked it. So I literally from one day to the other had no money. I didn't have any way, I didn't have money to even get an apartment, to get a car. I had nothing. I had a bag with clothes. I really felt like I had hit rock bottom. I was like, how did that happen to me? Because I feel like we all, including myself, have a certain stereotype of the kind of woman that this happens to, right? And we never want to believe that it's going to be us. And funny enough, the more I learned about all of that, the more I learned that actually, in fact, most of the women that experience any kind of abuse in a domestic partnership tend to be very strong women that tend to be more educated than their partner. And I was like, oh, okay, that somehow that made me feel better, because when it happens to you, you're like, how the fuck did this happen to me? And there's so much shame and so much guilt. And so I had to start from zero. No landlord was willing to give me an apartment. No car dealership was willing to sell me a car. I didn't also have a bank account. So I literally had to start from zero. I had to sleep at someone's, pull-out sofa in the kitchen of a shared apartment.
Oh my God.
Meanwhile, I was the CEO of a very successful startup and had 2 kids. But what no one knew is that I didn't pay myself salary because I thought I was not allowed to, and no one guided me. I didn't have my personal bank account because, again, I didn't know that that was going to be important. And I trusted that, I shouldn't do that I was told that it's important for the credit score of the family to only use that one card. I didn't realize I was building my ex-husband's credit score and not my own. So all these things that I did, right? And then I had to start from zero. And the good thing, though, is that I realized when I was looking for guidance, even to my family and talking to them, they were so clueless. I love them so much, but they didn't know either.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn the hard way. I went and I was like, what's a credit score? How do I get a credit score? How do I improve it? What do I need to do? What's the best way to buy a car? How do I get myself out of this? I learned everything there is to know about the stock market. I learned everything there is to know about the healthcare system. I was like, and we're going to do this right now. We will do this. I was like, maybe not for myself, but for my children. I was like, we will figure this shit out. I don't care what it takes. I will figure this out. And I did. I organized, I became the biggest advocate for my children when it comes to their health, when it comes to, their school, all of their rights that they have, all of the needs that they have. I was on top of it. I'm still on top of things now. I'm teaching US-born people how to do it because I learned the hard way, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so passionate. I think once a week I try to post on TikTok, this is your reminder to start investing. And it always like really makes my day when people comment. Like just yesterday, someone commented and said, because of your videos, I just started to invest. And I'm like, yes, please do it. But also don't feel shame if you don't know how to do it. Don't feel guilt if you haven't done it. Don't think that you're too old. Don't think that you should know how to, because I didn't know either. And that's why I'm so transparent, because it's really important to know that even the people you might look up to and think, oh, look at them, we don't know what we're doing either. Like, we're all figuring it out. But once you figure it out, go and share the knowledge with your community.
I was just telling my husband that. I said, oh my God, when I was younger, I would be like, okay, by 30, people know what they're doing. Like, I'm gonna know, right? And I went to community college and I did all these things and I'm like, I'm gonna know. Ana, I'm about to be 37 y todavía trying to figure it out. Because, yeah, there's so much to learn that we haven't learned. And I actually, let me see if I could pull it up. I have in my notes, I put a note to myself on my phone, a reminder to go back and see in your account if I can learn how to invest, because personally I don't know. And I'm like, I don't know if she shared it. You know how some creators have like list of things of, you know, certain topics or whatever, and I was like, I need to go back. So I'm like, I wrote myself a little note, go back to Anna's account and check.
Yes, and I'm going to do much more videos on that, because I didn't realize how needed it was. Like, I just started sharing it because I didn't know. And then more and more people kept asking me, and I'm like, yeah, we're going to do this now. We're going to do this all together. We're going to collectively learn. We're going to open our accounts together. We're going to start. Yeah. And then we're going to get over our money wounds and our money trauma, and we're going to go and get that money back, and we're going to make our money work for us. So, yes.
Yes, because the most annoying thing to me on TikTok, and this is not, you know, no shade to you or to any other creator, but I see it's very common. They'll tell you like what not to buy, what to stay away from, how to get in, what an LLC can get you, and all these things, pero nunca te explican the details. I'm like, okay, but I need to know, like, okay, I've heard Roth IRA, but what does that entitle? Like, ¿qué hago once I open it? You know what I mean? Like, dime más, no nomás me digas los beneficios. So yeah, so I would love that. But be specific, Anna, so then I really could learn.
So here's the thing. We were thinking like, oh, let's do a webinar. Let's go into all of the details. And then the workload exploded so much. You know, and I'm a business owner.
Yeah.
Right. But not just that. I also learned, here's one of the things that I have learned. I am not working for free anymore. Like, I know my worth, and I'm not working for free anymore. So here's the thing. The more we looked into that, the more I was like, this financially as a business owner does not make any sense for me to host a webinar, to do all of these things, to gather all of these resources. Like, we were working that for like 3 weeks. Unless we charge like, I don't know, $200, $300, $400 for people to watch the webinar. I don't want to do that. So the reason we kept waiting a little bit is because what I did is I went to the brokerages and I said, you're going to sponsor the webinar. You want me to bring you all of these Latinos to open accounts. I don't want to charge them. Instead of them paying me like $200, $300 to teach them, you guys are going to pay me. They're going to have the webinar for free. And we're going to open their brokerages accounts with them together, screen sharing. So they learn it step by step by step. And at the end of it, they're going to have a brokerage account. And instead of paying me, use that money and invest it in the stock market. And so that's the only reason it's taking a little bit longer. It's because I'm a hustler. I will always figure out a way to make the big corporations pay so that my community can benefit off of it. And one of the things that I really don't like about content creators myself is when they tell you, here's a massive problem, you should solve it. And in order to solve it, you should pay me. And I understand, like, I get it. But if there is a way that you can leverage the people that actually have money, the companies that have money, then please do that. And so I'm a big believer that that's what we should do. And so that's, you know, if I think about my vision, if I think about my legacy, like, I want my community to have more money, to be able to create generational wealth. I don't want them to do that by having to pay me, though. And so, you know, we reached out to all of the brokerages. We're in the middle of negotiations because we're like, no, you guys are going to pay us. You want all of the Latinos to open brokerages accounts after you basically ignored the Latino community in this country for the last decades. You want us to come to you, bank with you, use your brokerage? Great, pay for it. Wow. And that's what we're going to do.
Eres una chingona, and I love you. Girl, that is, wow. That is amazing. And I think that was one of the things that I really enjoyed about your platform is always having that transparency, right? Of knowing your worth. Like if I've learned anything from you is learning my worth. And
yes,
Mexican labor is not free labor.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, we got lost in transition somewhere. And, todo tiene que ser bien barato. No, it's not like that. Porque es tu tiempo, son tus resources. Your landlord or your mortgage doesn't get paid by people's likes and sharing and followers. That doesn't pay the bills.
Well, and it's not just that. It's also like what you said, right? Like I can give bits and pieces on TikTok, but I know myself because I've been in that situation. That's not going to move the needle. You sometimes need, especially as an immigrant or first gen, you need someone that literally holds you by the hand and says, listen, this is what we're going to do. We're going to download this app together now. Then we're going to do this. Then we're going to do that. Next thing we're going to do is X, Y, and Z. And I'm not going to leave your side until this is done, right? That's the only way we will change how our community operates with money. That's the only way we're going to change and get out of that fear mindset.
Yes.
But I can't do that with hundreds and thousands of people. I don't have that capacity. And that's why I was like, but you know who has that capacity? Banks.
They do. Yes. Oh my God.
And I'm like,
I love that.
you spent millions of dollars on ads. You can spend a few $1,000s to pay us and we will bring you the community. And I even negotiated with them. I'm like, I want you to give them some kind of benefit. Like when they sign up to your platform, they automatically get money to invest in. Like what is it that you offer to my community and why should we open a brokerage account with you?
Because there's so many of them.
There's so many of them. They all have money. They all overlook the Latino community in this country. So you want us to join you, it's time to pay up. Mm-hmm. And they're going to be paying, And so for me, that's like been a big thing. Like we just announced it, or we're announcing it slowly on my platform. I kept trying to figure out how to help the TikTok Latino community more. I was very overwhelmed by the growth, and I was very overwhelmed by how many people sent me DMs every single day. Like I on average get 60 to 70 DMs every single day on my TikTok.
Wow.
Of people asking me for help. And so even just responding to that, even if I would only respond, I can't help you, that alone would take me like an hour or 2 hours, right? So, wow. And like, obviously I want to help them though, right? Like in most cases, I'm like, oh, I actually can think of this and that resource. And then when we have a lot of clients that come from TikTok, but ultimately, there's so many people that say, I can't afford to work with you. Like, I'm saving up to be able to work with you. I would like to work with you. I don't know how to work with you.
That's me. I swear to you, I've been saving up. I get disability because I do have health conditions and that I struggle with on a daily basis. And so I'm like, okay, out of this check, I'm going to take like 50. Out of this check, I'm going to take more 50. Yeah, see, because I think it would be worth it. Because who's going to invest in me if I don't do it myself?
Yes, but here's the thing.
It's going to take me a while to get there.
Yes, and you're not the only one. And I get that all the time. And we do, I help more people than I would care to admit to my team without ever being paid, because I'm like, no, she just needs this, she just needs that. And then I constantly have people say, wait, who is this? Is that a founder of ours? And I'm like, yeah, es mi amiga. And they're like, una amiga o es de TikTok?
Oh, no.
Yeah, well, and I'm like, same. Because I always try to help, right? But that's another thing we're going to start doing, which I'm really, really excited about. I turned down every single brand partnership I got offered because I'm like, I'm not an influencer. I'm not a content creator. Like I own my company. I just use TikTok to educate my community. And then I had an idea. So we're going to change this now. We will take brand deals and we will make brands pay. However, we're going to take the brand deals from monetizing my TikTok community, and we're going to use every single dollar that brands pay me to advertise for them on my TikTok and use that as a fund to help my TikTok community for free. So instead of charging them, we're going to start charging the brands. And I thought about that. I was like, I don't know if that's a good idea, but I had that kind of epiphany moment. Like, it was actually a Latina that gave me that moment. She DM'd me. She said that she's trying to set aside money because she wants to work with me for 1 hour. And like, my heart broke. I was like, this is not okay that someone can't even afford to pay an hour of my time. And of course, what do? Amiga, let's get on a call.
Oh, that is so sweet.
Because I can't help it. Like, when someone says they need help, I'm not going to be like, you got to pay me. But at the same time, I need to take care of my business, of my team, of my children, of myself. And it bothered me the whole day. Like, that DM of her, I don't know why. That really, I don't know, it really hit a nerve with me. And I was like, this is not okay. Like, people not being able to pay for a retainer of 10 hours, okay. People not being able to pay for certain events and retreats we host that cost more money, okay. But the fact that they can't even afford an hour to work with me, when I know that during that hour I can probably help them so much, like, there needs to be more accessibility. And in a lot of cases, it doesn't help to give them a discount, because they're like, I also cannot pay, even half of that price. And then I was cooking dinner and I got a request, which was actually a really funny request. Someone sent me a DM and said that they're always on my TikTok live and that they noticed that women always ask me where I get my earrings from. And I was like, oh. And they said, we're a jewelry store here in Beverly Hills, and we would like to pay you. Come to our store, pick out any jewelry you want, it's yours. And we want to pay you to mention during your TikTok live that you bought your jewelry in our store. And I was like, this is so odd. I would have never thought of it. But this is actually very authentic, because I do love myself some good earrings. And this girl is not going to say no to diamonds.
I love your fashion, girl. You are the cutest thing ever. Y después con tu acento, oh, I'm like, Sofía Vergara, who? Anna, you're the cutest, I swear.
But listen, so you know what I did? I went on TikTok live. I was like, Los Absolutes, that's what my TikTok family calls themselves, Los Absolutes. We have to brainstorm. And everyone's like, okay, what's going on? And I'm like, if I take a brand partnership deal like that, and let's say they pay $5,000 for me to wear diamonds, like, first of all, chingona, super badass. I'm proud of myself. I'm like, being paid to wear diamonds, never thought that was going to happen. But with those $5,000, imagine how many Latina business owners I could help. And everyone was like, yes. And so we are working on having kind of like an evergreen fund. Like, we monetize the community, take the money to give back to the community, and figure out a way that basically brands pay me to help founders without the founders having to pay out. And so I'm really excited about that. And we're going to start rolling that out like in the next couple of weeks. But that's exactly like the kind of mindset that I want the Latina community to like switch their mindset. Like, don't ask people for free labor, but figure out what you can do for them.
Por eso yo no te he mandado mensaje ni nada, girl, because I try to be very mindful of people's times and everything. I was like, but I really want you on my podcast, like, even if we don't talk about, like all the ideas that I have, because something that I always brag about, and I'm not like too proud of it, but I'm like, I need to believe in myself a little bit more. I used to work in healthcare. I've always worked in healthcare. Como allí yo vivía de paciente. When I was old enough, I started volunteering, and then I just got a job. And I love working in healthcare. But I started noticing that at lunchtime, the whole building, the whole hospital, todos, they would send one person out of the unit to go and get food for the whole department.
Wow.
And I was like, I even called my dad and I said, Dad, you should charge, Dad. Like, we should make like a website or something where people can place the orders y tú empiezas a recogerlas and then you just drop them off. And, you could put them in the, I was telling him, you could put them in the coolers para que se mantenga calientito or whatever, or usually we have microwaves, they can microwave it, whatever. And my dad was like, yeah, that's a good idea. But he was like, whatever. And I was like, no, but this should be a thing. Girl, this was in 2012. And I kept telling my husband, I'm like, well, maybe, you know, like not like a food truck, because in hospitals, there's no place for you to park a food truck because, you know, there's ambulances and there's a lot of red and stuff. They go, so that's not really convenient. They go, but what if somebody's just dropping off, you know, at the entrance, and then the people in the front can get it? And my husband was like, well, yeah, look into that. And I was like, I don't even know where to start. And then, you know, fast forward, Uber Eats and Grubhub happens, and my husband's like, I told you to start it. I was like, yeah, pero ¿dónde? I don't know how. And I've had ideas like that, and se me van because I don't even know where to start. And sometimes when I have asked for help, like right now, I would love to create here in San Diego, más closer to the border, because I live in San Diego. I mean, estoy a 15 minutos de la línea de Tijuana. Cruza mucha gente and everything. And I'm like, I want to create a space for like content creators, right? Like I want to make like a fake little kitchen, and I want to create like a fake little desk, and, you know, where they can come and shoot because not everybody has that space. Right now I'm in my kitchen, Nana. And I'm like, I want to create this and I want to create that. And my husband's like, okay. And, you know, he has a friend that has a studio. And so I reached out to him and I said, hey, you know, are you willing to guide me? How can I get, you know, the leasing space? How can I get this? He's ignored me for a year. Ya va un año. And I'm like, okay, ya no voy a preguntar. Like, obviously he's not, you know, either he's too busy or he's just not interested in helping me. And so I've been like Googling, and I found like in San Diego, we have a thing called SCORE, and it helps people that are starting businesses. So they hold like little $25 classes where you can go learn like how to get a commercial contract for real estate. Where do you get funding from? But it's so confusing. Yeah, I'm like, I still don't understand. Like, I don't get it. How do I break that wall? And one thing about you is de que no nomás nos encomias, pero también nos dices, hey, you can do this, you can do that, and here's your confidence. And you pump me up. Every time I see you, pump me up.
I'm so happy to hear that. But you know what? This is exactly the kind of thing that I'm trying to like demystify entrepreneurship, because just like you said, a lot of these classes are very confusing. And it's because the classes are not given by people that have the same lived experience that you have, and by people who have never started a business. So they don't get it. They're like, oh, here are hypothetical books, and here's like hypothetical 1 million websites. Like you can get so much free stuff and resources, and then you're still stuck with the, okay, but like, how do I get started?
Yes.
But I don't get it. But how do I get started? And unfortunately, with business especially, you get what you pay for. You know, and that's exactly the issue. It's like, if you want to have high quality, you need to work with people who have actually done it. And very important, done it successfully. Please do not work with people that started to have a business. It, you know, never scaled. They never raised funding. They never had customers. Like if they haven't done it, and because there's like this saying, you know, who can't do it teaches it, or something like that. And that's unfortunately a lot of the people, a lot of the content creators on social media are like, here is how to do it. And it's like, but you haven't done it.
Exactly.
Like, stop teaching things that you haven't. Have you scaled a company? Have you raised capital? Have you scaled a team? Like, do you even know what you're talking about? Like, I'm not going to listen to a 24-year-old that is like, I'm going to make $50,000 a month. Girl, you're not. I know that just by looking at your content that you did not. Stop gaslighting people into believing that it's so easy. If I can do it, anyone can. No. Starting a business is super hard. It takes a lot of time. It is very difficult. Don't have people tell you that bullshit that, oh, that's so easy, like anyone. No, it's not easy. It's hard. Is it doable? Absolutely. But you will have to find people who have done it successfully. Successfully is like the, you know, important piece. Yeah. And then listen to their advice. And then again, unfortunately, and I've been in those shoes, it doesn't always help you to just listen to someone hypothetically talk about all industries. Sometimes you need someone that sits next to you and just does it with you. Yeah. And that's like the whole reason why I started Founders Registry, my current company. That's the whole reason, because I had that with Find Sisterhood. I had incredible advisors, incredible investors, incredible team members, but people kept telling me how to hypothetically do things. Like, oh, you do this and this. Oh, if I were you, I would do this. Like, there is so much advice. There's so much noise, especially on social media. What I would have needed is someone to say, I'm going to pull up a chair, I'm going to sit with you, and we're going to do this together. Watch me do it with you. Like, that's what I would have needed. I would have just needed someone to be like, this is what you do. And instead, I made every mistake imaginable because I just kept getting advice. Like, people said to me, for example, things like, oh, you didn't have a credit score, you should get a credit card. I'm like, oh, okay. So I get a credit card. I never used it because I didn't know that I was supposed to use it. I was like, oh, okay, this is really confusing. I need to get a credit card, which for me means I don't have money. To get a credit score, got it, done. So I got a credit card. Never used it. But exactly those kind of like small, quote unquote, small issues, right? You need someone that says, no, I'm going to walk you through it. You need to increase your limit. You need to use the card. You need to pay off the card. Also, don't pay off all of that. And I'm like, who teaches you those things? And like in entrepreneurship, it's the same thing. It's very easy to say, oh, you should just open an LLC or get a C Corp. Okay, but what's the difference? And then getting as a response, here is a link where you can read it. It's like, I can Google. I'm asking you because I need someone to give me guidance specific to my situation, to my financial circumstances, to my, background, to my educational level, to my business plan. Like, I need someone to specifically tell me for my business and not just give me some random advice that, might not apply to me. And I think that that's really important. Like, you need to find people with your lived experience that meet you where you're at the level where you're at, that understand that not everyone comes from wealth, that not everyone comes from a family that had access to college education. Like, most of the business advice is geared towards people from generational wealth, where everyone in their last 3 generations went to college, that have access to all of the things. And if you talk to someone like me, I didn't know what the fuck a cap table is, what's a safe note. I'm like, I don't even know what any of that means. Like, what you're using terms I've never heard in my whole life, And so you need to meet people where they're at.
Yes. And it almost feels, I feel guilty asking for that because I'm like, I feel completely stupid. Because I do need that person, como dijiste, to hold my hand and be like, no, this is where you need to go. This is how you can do this, and this is how you do that. And it brings me back to when I went to college, kind of going back to that. Again, yo pensé que solo los güeros iban al colegio. Yo no sabía que my kind of people went to college, because my older brother and sister that are 11 and 9 years older than me, they didn't go to college. And I was like, ooh, how do I do it? And I actually had my childhood friend grab me by the hand, take me to my community college and say, okay, this is administration. You fill out a form here. This was before like computers was like a whole thing. This is where you fill out the form. This is where you get financial aid. This is where you get help for your books. This is the disability office. So you can let them know your illness, and if you need to, when you're hospitalized, aquí ellos te van a ayudar to be able to get your notes. And like, she guided me through the whole campus. And if it wasn't for her, I don't know what I would have done.
Yeah. That is so beautiful that you had someone like that.
Yes. And even when I got my first FAFSA check from college, I took my mom with me because I was so scared. And I went to the financial department and I was like, I received this. I think this is a mistake, because it was like casi $3,000. I never had seen a check like that. So I went and I took it, and I'm like, I don't know why I got this here. And the lady was like, did you apply? And I was like, I applied for many things. And then she's like, let me check. And she's like, no, that's your FAFSA money. That's for your books and your gas and transportation, like all of that, housing, whatever you need. Oh, okay. I was like, oh my God, I could buy my books. Because, college books are expensive. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And if it wasn't for that one friend that took me, I don't know what I would have done. And so now with business, it's like I'm craving that. So cuando yo vi en tu website, I was like, And that's what I've been saving up for, because I'm like, I know your time is very valuable, Anna, but I would love for you to hold my hand and be like, Maribel, this is the direction, this is the resources, like, this is what you do. Like, darme ese empujoncito, because I am scared out of my mind. I'm so scared.
Yes, but you're not alone. That's the good thing, is you're really not. You should sign up to our membership. We're going to launch it like in next week.
Yes, I saw that. I've been eyeing that. Yeah. Yeah,
that one is probably going to be, it's also much more accessible. That's the whole reason I recreated it now, is so that people can much easier join. Because there's so many like you, and I was one of them, one day, years ago, that say, I have an idea, I want to get started, I don't know where to get started, I need someone to guide me, I need someone to really talk me through it step by step by step by step. And I was like, okay, well, I can't just help all of you guys for free, but if we figure out how we can all together do it, let's learn together. And so the membership is going to be specifically for that. It's going to be specifically like, you'll meet me once a week over Zoom. I will share my screen. I will walk you through it step by step. And as you talk to me on Zoom, you have your computer ready and you can walk through it with me step by step by step. And I'm going to hold your hand and we're going to do this together. Because I can't tell you how oftentimes that's all someone needs.
Yes.
And I want to be able to do that, because I would have needed it so many times in my life myself. And especially as an immigrant, I never unfortunately had that kind of person. And now I'm in the position where I can be that person for other people. And it's so sad to hear, especially Latinas, because it's usually women also, that have all of these ideas and they don't get started because they get overwhelmed. They don't know where to get started. And so many times I'm like, all it would take is for someone to take a bet on them. It's for someone to just help them a few hours and sit down with them. And that's all it takes. And I can tell you for my own life, I had a handful of people, random strangers, people that didn't know anything about me, that were willing to take a bet on me, that were literally willing to take a bet on me. I still don't know why. Those people literally changed my life, and I would not be where I am today if it weren't for them, for their kindness, for seeing something inside of me, even at times when I couldn't see it myself,
Yeah.
And that, I know how powerful that can be. I had one of my investors for Fine Sisterhood, Sarah Harden, sorry. My earbuds just died.
I can hear you.
So she's the CEO of Hello Sunshine, Reese Witherspoon's company. They're an investor in my company. And you can't imagine me walking into the office, I'm like Reese Witherspoon, I grew up looking up to her. My dad always compared me to her from Legally Blonde. He always compared me to her. So here I am, 20 years later, walking into the building, getting them as investors into my company. And I will never forget the second meeting I had there. And Sarah looked at me and she said, the only thing I would change about you is the next time you walk through these doors, I want you to have the attitude that you are the next Mark Zuckerberg, but the better version and the female version of him, because that's the one thing you have missing. And I was like, I'm sitting there, I feel this small, I have imposter syndrome, I'm inside of me falling apart. Yes. I felt so small. And she kept saying to me, I'm going to push doors open for you. I'm willing to take a bet on you, but you need to believe in yourself. We can all believe in you and see everything we see in you, but you have to see it for yourself and you have to believe it. And that's your homework. Your homework is you need to go home and you need to figure out how you manage to get up in the morning and see it inside of you. And I can't tell you, there are a few conversations, a few investments, a few people I met that didn't know me before, that didn't know anything about me, that had no idea what kind of, personal trauma I was in that moment experiencing and going through. And that against all odds, they took a bet on me. Yeah. They took a bet on me when no one else did, including my own family didn't take a bet on me. Not that they were in a position to, but when I felt like no one was supporting me, the one thing that, changed for me was people willing to give me a shot. And it's so funny because I always think of the song Lose Yourself from Eminem. I grew up to that music. I'm an 80s.
And when he sings, what would happen if you have one shot and one opportunity?
Yes.
Everything you ever wanted. And for me, that's how it felt. And so when I started Founders Registry, I literally wrote down on like I don't call it a vision board, but let's call it a vision board for this purpose. And I wrote down, I want to be able to make a space at my table for other Latinas. I want to be able to pass on the mic. I want to be able to take a bet on them. I want to be able to be the one person that I had so many times in my life that sees something inside of them and says, you know what? I'm going to take a bet on you. Let's do this together. Let's pull up the chair. Let's pass you the mic and let's build this company together. And so that is like, I now know this is going to be my last company. I mean, I own 6 companies. It's all, but it's all, we're all doing the same thing.
Bless your heart, girl.
But that's so, like, once I realized that, I was like, this is going to be my life's purpose. This is going to be my legacy. And this is what I'm going to do. And I've never felt burnt out since starting the company. I've never felt like I didn't want to work. And I, in fact, get up 7 days a week excited to get to work because we have such a massive impact. Like, I have helped founders go from, I have an idea, I don't know where to get started. They all cry with me. That's also part of working with us. Because this shit is overwhelming. It is really overwhelming. It's super scary. There's a lot of guilt and shame and so many emotions. Oftentimes partners won't support you, family won't support you, strangers on the internet are going to be your biggest cheerleaders.
Yes.
Like, all of these feelings, we've all had them, right? And I have had people from like having an idea stage to selling their company for millions of dollars. Because all it took was to execute on the idea, to scale it, and to put them in the right rooms with the right people.
Yes.
And seeing that kind of impact that we can have, and it's not just an impact on that founder that works with me. It impacts their children. It impacts them being able to send money back home to their parents in Mexico. It impacts them being able to finally pay for surgery for their dad, that money that they didn't have. It impacts them being able to send their kids to college. And that's why, like, then in the next phase, I'm like, okay, now let's figure out how to take that money and invest it.
Yes.
And so many times like, wait, what? No, this is overwhelming. And I'm like, no, I'm going to hold your hands. We're going to do all the things together because we're not just going to get money. We're going to get that money. Then we're going to make this money work for you. We're going to invest that money. And then we're going to set you up for success. And we're going to set you up for retirement. We're going to figure out how to help your whole community and uplift you. Because I firmly believe if we uplift enough people from our community that then uplift all of the other people in their community, that's how we create the biggest change for our community.
Yes. Girl, as you can tell, I got emotional just because I feel seen and heard for the first time in a really long time.
Oh, I'm so happy. And I'm sorry that you usually don't feel seen. I know that there is so much bullshit noise out there that will tell you that your feelings aren't valid. But they are valid. Like, this is really scary. Having I always tell people, and at the beginning when I told people, like, my team would sit there and like grasp and be like, did she just say that? But I would always tell people, whenever I went on stage, I would tell them the night before, most likely I was in my bathroom crying till 3 a.m. Because I didn't know how to pay rent, because I feel like I'm failing as a mother, because I feel like my mental health has gone to shit. Because my partner is not supporting me. He's condescending and making fun of me. Well, that part I didn't say, but I felt it.
Yes.
And I would tell people, like, this is how I feel. And right now, I had the Glam Squad team backstage, do my makeup, do my hair. I'm standing on stage with the mic in my hand and I'm kicking ass and I'm telling all of you Latinas to start your companies. But the part that you do not see is that I spent more nights crying at home, questioning my life choices, feeling like I feel in every single, part of my life. That part you don't see, and that part other CEOs, other founders, other business owners don't want you to see, because there's this whole, like, you have to be a chingona, you have to be a badass, you have to be a boss babe. And I'm like, guess what? If you're a real chingona and if you're a real boss babe, whatever that even means, it means that you have more bad days than good days. Because guess what? That's literally what it means to create a company. It means that more people will be jealous of you and envious and not support you than people that will support you. Because guess what? That's also what it means to start a company, And I am so over this toxic positivity on social media and from all of these coaches and from all of these content creators. Like, that's not true.
No.
Having business is not just kicking ass, flying around, living your best life, having vacations, working remote. Starting your business usually means that you're going to spend years in your life broke as fuck, not knowing how to put food on the table, turning every cent upside down a million times, and having people in your life ask you constantly, why don't you just get a job? Just get a fucking job. Right? So,
I've been this
like,
close.
no.
I just actually turned down, I had to sit down and I had a conversation with my husband. And I'm like, this is something that I really want to do. Like, now I'm putting all my energy. Like, I took a year off from creating content with the podcast because I needed it for my mental health. It was becoming too overwhelming of like how to make it happen, because everybody else makes it seem like it's so easy, and it's not.
No, it's not.
And so I took a year off, and I'm like, no, I'm going to start 2023 con las pilas bien cargadas, and I'm going to do it. Aunque nadie me escuche, like, I'm going to listen to myself. And I've already seen my consistency is paying off. People ya está aprendiendo, like every Thursday I have a new episode. I post up content every single day. I do this. And I told my husband, I said, this is my dream, but I'm so scared to even say it out loud because I feel like it's too big. Like, who the hell am I to dream of having, such business? And he was like, okay. And I said, but, we're having a hard time paying rent. Like, I'm having to choose. And he's like, if you don't bet on yourself, then who will?
Yeah.
And I was like, but it's because it's hard. It's really, really hard. Oh, I hate that I'm crying. But yeah, it's really, really hard. And he was like, pero es que si tú no inviertes, ¿quién lo va a invertir? He's like, I'm willing to do this for you. And, and he's been supportive, but I imposter syndrome is a bitch, girl.
Yeah. I know. And you know what? I almost am willing to take a bet that whatever dreams you have that you think are too big are probably not big enough. That's most likely the truth. So there is no dream that is too big. They're usually too small. And I agree, like you have to take a bet on yourself. You really have to. And I am like, my biggest privilege in life, hands down, biggest privilege ever, has been my dad. I don't know why he believes so much in me and how he can love me so much and how fucking highly he speaks of me. Like, it's absolutely unreal. I feel like everyone deserves at least one person that is like that. I unfortunately didn't have many people in my life that feel this or treated me like this, but my dad does. And so when I hit rock bottom and I was, single mom, 2 kids, immigrant, by myself, don't have bank account, don't have income, don't have a credit card, don't have a credit score, don't have a car, didn't even have fucking driver's license in the United States. I was like, I never thought that I would ever end up there. I'm like, I can't even, like, even if someone would give me an apartment, I don't know how to pay rent. Like, I don't have money. I don't know how to pay for food. I don't have money, and thankfully I had a dad who was like, you will figure this out. I know that. And unfortunately, he was not really in a position to help me much more. But even just that, like, knowing that, it changed my life forever to be like, I have to take a bet on myself. No one else will, especially not in this country. No one will take a bet on myself. No one will come and save me. No one will help me in any kind of way, shape, or form. And the only way, forward is through it. And sometimes, what's the hardest part when you feel overwhelmed is when someone tells you just get up and work, and you feel like you're so exhausted from things not working out that it's like you don't have an ounce of energy left. Yeah. You feel like, I just can't. I just need someone to give me a fucking break. And then people on social media tell you, just get started, just do this, just use ChatGPT and do automated social media. It takes 5 minutes. Anyone can do it. And you're watching it and you just feel like now you want to cry even more because you're like, really, can everyone do it? Because I don't know how. Yeah. I'm overwhelmed. Yeah. Like, I did what? And that part, like, oh God, it's so hard. And like, yeah, I've been there many times. And the only reason I'm saying all of this is because I really think that it's important to understand that even people that manage to build successful companies, have been there. Yes. But unfortunately, most of them give up eventually because it gets so fucking hard. That's one of the biggest that's another luxury that I have, is I never had the option to give up. I was like, yeah, I can't really give up because I'm not going to live in a homeless shelter with my 2 kids. I don't have anyone who financially can support my children and me.
Did you see that clip? Ahí en Los Angeles, Big Boy's neighborhood, el Big Boy was interviewing 50 Cent, and 50 Cent said, depression is a luxury. Y le hace el Big Boy, what do you mean? And he's like, it's a luxury. Where I come from, you can't cry about what happened or what's gonna happen, or, you know, if you don't have any food, nobody cares. You have to get up and still do it. You can't be at home crying. And I was like, oh my God, yes. Because yo también, you know, creo que todos ahorita en los tiempos que vivimos pasamos algún tipo de ansiedad, de depresión, pánico, right? But most of us don't have the luxury to just sit there and just be like, oh. And, you know, I'm so mad at myself for crying right now because it's the first time that I put makeup on for one of my interviews.
Oh, stop it.
And I'm like reading it, and they're gonna make fun of me. But pero yeah, like, you know, I think about it and I'm like, it would be so easier just to go back to work, Ana, and somebody pay me, you know, the $32 an hour that I was earning in healthcare and just mind my business. Pero thinking of how unhappy I was, how my illness, mi cuerpo estaba tan hinchado. I have multiple sclerosis and chronic pancreatitis. I was in I was hospitalized every month, Ana. Y mi cuerpo estaba tan hinchado. The multiple sclerosis was so painful. I was 20 pounds de puro hinchazón de mi cuerpo. And so when I was telling my husband, you know, like, I'm having trouble, like, paying the bills because I'm the one that manages the money in the house, and having to have, you know, trying to build a business, he was like, yeah, pero vas a estar más infeliz estando yendo al trabajo, un trabajo donde you know what to do, you're great at your job, and they love you, but that's not your passion.
Yeah.
And he's like, when you finish a podcast, estás tan contenta, like, you love meeting people, you love talking to people, like, this is what you're supposed to do. And I'm like, pero es que tengo miedo, like, ¿a qué horas llega el dinero?
But you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your family, you know, to do that. We only regret the things we didn't do in life.
Yes.
And so resilience will pay off. It really will pay off. And I think it's okay to have days when you doubt yourself. We all have them. I had them this week. Like, I had so much hardship in my personal life this week. Like, I can't even, you know, it's been a very, very heavy week. And funny enough, my subconscious decided, because it was not a heavy week for my work, just for my personal stuff. And yesterday I took a nap in the middle of the day. That's how, like, I was so exhausted from crying. I was like, I can't do this. So I just went to sleep. And then in my dreams, I was applying to jobs on LinkedIn. And it was really funny because when I woke up at like 7 p.m., I was totally confused. I'm like, what time is it? What day is it? Because I usually don't sleep in the middle of the day. And I was so confused. And then I'm like, oh my God, did I apply to jobs on LinkedIn? But it was just my dreams. But it was like in my dreams, apparently, because I was so overwhelmed with my personal shit, my subconscious went, apply for jobs, you know. And I'm like, what? Like, my business is going well. Why did my subconscious go there? But I think it's because usually the things that like stress me out is a lot of work stuff. And so like the personal stuff was so overwhelming. And sometimes, especially as parents, you know, that shit gets so heavy that you can't even think about all of this stuff because it's so heavy that it breaks your heart. And so my subconscious was like, oh, okay, your stress level is so high. Let's apply for jobs. And I'm like, what? That's like the one thing that is going well is my company. Why would I apply for jobs? But I think that's, you know, it's okay. Those days happen, you know, and allowing yourself to have that rest, to have that good cry, to doubt yourself, to, you know, that's all part of the journey. We all need to embrace all of these different emotions, because it's a roller coaster.
Embracing your markings.
Yes.
Embracing your story. Yana, it's been such a pleasure. You've been more than what I even thought this episode was going to be. Because I feel like the advice that you have been giving us is just exactly what I needed to hear. And for other people that are starting businesses, because I have had people reach out to me and be like, how do I start a business? Because I know how to do website design and todo eso. And I'm like, I can help you with this, but I have no idea like where you can get founders and all this. So, and now I actually say, hey, but I do know founders a registry.
Yeah.
Vete para allá. And I don't know if they've ever followed up with it or not, pero I'm like, there's other resources out there, and I feel like, ever since I saw you, I'm like, I just have such a good feeling about you. Like my gut just tells me, okay, there's something about this girl. She's really real. So thank you so, so much. Antes de que te deje ir, I do have a little game called Wordiful.
Okay.
Que hizo esta Liz Hernandez.
Okay.
From LA. And I pre-chose a question for you.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Yes.
Let's go.
So what is some of the best advice you have been given?
I feel like we have already covered it, but I can't say it often enough. It is that you always have to take a bet on yourself. Always, 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 always. If nothing else, take a bet on yourself. If you feel like you don't have any energy left to give, you have no love left to give, you have nothing left to give, the last bit you have, give it to yourself, because that's what people in your life need you to do, and that's what's going to move the needle. And the second piece would most definitely be to believe people who they are the first time around. I think that we, especially as women, tend to give way too many chances to people that let us down. Believe actions over words.
Yes.
Always. And I think that sometimes that's really hard because, it's easy to have good words. It's easy to, promise you, the world. It's really hard to actually follow through. So believe people's actions over their words and believe them when they show you who they are. And that applies. I mean, I know that people usually think of that in like romantic relationships, but I think that also in friendships. If your friends don't show up and support your business, or they just ask for a discount or free shit, they're not your friends.
No.
If your friends support some celebrity on Instagram and they can't bother to leave a comment on the content you post as a small business owner, they're not your friends. They're not your people. And in business, like when it comes to starting a company, everyone is going to have advice. Everyone's going to say, oh, I love what you do. Do you though? Because if you love what I do, walk the walk. And that's so, so, so important. And I think as women that every time someone gives us a lot of big words, watch their actions. Mm-hmm. And if their actions don't match their words, then walk away. In any kind of relationship, walk away. You don't need people to tell you how wonderful and amazing you are if those are not the kind of people that are there when you need them to.
Exactly.
In any aspect of life, And when I started matching people's energy, my whole life changed. The people that are in my life changed. I have ended most of my friendships, and the few that stayed left turned out to not just be friends, but basically be family. So it changes your life once you start matching people's energy and once you really stop listening to their words and just pay attention to their actions. It's going to be mind-blowing, the kind of people that are going to stay and the kind of people that are all of a sudden gone. But you deserve that kind of friendship, that kind of love, that kind of support in every aspect of life.
Amen. Amen to that. Yes. I've seen it. I've experienced it as well. With something as simple as my podcast, mm-hmm. Unless I post a clip of me saying something controversial, then they'll go and listen. But otherwise, quiet. Mm-hmm. But yet they want to hang out with me. And I'm like, well, I have nothing to hang out with you about. Like, we have mm-hmm. nothing in common, because if I'm talking about my business, then you think I'm bragging. Mm-hmm. If I'm talking about my dreams, you think I'm crazy. So what are we going to hang out for?
And I always tell people, like, if you have a founder in your life, a small business owner in your life, I want you to like, save, and comment on every single one of their social media posts, because it makes a difference. And we notice. People think we don't notice.
We notice. Yes.
Oh, we notice.
We notice.
We do.
Yes.
I notice exactly the kind of people that are following me on social media that are my so-called friends that never engage with my content but watch all of that. I block them all. I block them. Not just from my life, but also from my social media. Like, you can't bother to engage with my content when you know I spend hours and hours giving out free educational content to support my community. And you can't even leave a like there. Like, I notice. And I notice your likes on every single Kim Kardashian post. I see you.
As if she needs any more likes.
Yes, it's like, really?
No, and I've met people that have company. The shirt that I'm wearing right now, Mujeres Are Magic, from Viva La Bonita. I love her stuff, and she's such an amazing person. I've met her because she's come down to San Diego a few times. Very approachable girl. We become friends. I would be mortified if... vergüenza si yo le pido un discount code, girl.
Yeah.
I would never. I interviewed, I was able to también have the privilege of sitting down with the founder of I Love Chamoy, the sugar-free chamoy, Annie. And she was like, I'll send you a free product. I'm like, no, I already buy your stuff. I don't need the free product. Like, I want to support, because that, to me, you shouldn't be giving out things for free. Pero Ana, oh my God, I've taken so much of your time. I've taken so much of your time. Pero te aprecio tanto, Ana. I really, really do. And I hope that you continue to thrive and kick ass. Eres una chingona, mujer. Chingona. Mil respetos para ti.
Thank you so much for having me. I can't wait to work with you.
Yes.
I think you can add more and support your podcast. I need to figure out, I hope I follow you. If I don't follow you on all the social platforms, I'm going to start following you, and I'm going to comment on every single one of your posts.
Oh, you're so
exactly the walk that I'm talking about. We really have to do that.
Yes. Yeah. And I need to, también necesito que trabajar, because I have my personal stuff donde I just post whatever I want. And you follow me on my personal TikTok page. But I need to be more
from your podcast page so that I know that it's you, and then I can follow you.
Yeah. And I'll try to be more active también. That's something I need to work on. Pero, ay, Ana, pues muchísimas gracias. Espero que tengas un lindo y hermoso fin de semana. And we'll keep in touch. We will be working soon.
Sounds good. Thank you so much for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
I want to hear your story, or I want to support your small business. To do so, please go ahead and visit embracingmymarkings.com. Thank you for tuning in.